During the design process, we can leverage mass elements to see both the shape of the building, explore different options in building geometry, as well as apply walls to the outsides of these mass objects so we can get a better visualization for how this building will look when it's completed. As of right now, we're missing one critical component, and that is how much square footage is actually inside of this building. To find that, we need to first define where the floor plates are going to be in the building. Let's begin by selecting on one of these mass elements, and in this case I'm going to select on this mass object right here. It's the big building. If you click on it, there's an option over to the right hand side that says Mass Floors. If you select on Mass Floors, you'll then see individual levels that are inside of the project. What you need to do is put a check mark next to each level that you'd like to have a floor plate associated with this mass object. In this case, I'm only going to do the first 3 because level 4 is going to be the roof. Now click on OK, and now we can see that this mass object has been broken up into 3 individual floor plates. Now it's important to remember that we haven't actually created floors in here. All we've done is created the location where the individual floor plates would be located at. The next thing we need to do is select on another one of the mass objects, do the same process, but in this case only pick level 1 because we only want the floor to be here right in the entryway. And I'd like to do the same thing over here, mass floors, but in this case it's going to be levels 1 and level 2. So one of the masses only has 1 floor, this has 3 floors, and this one has 2 floors associated with it. Now that we know what the actual floors are, I'd like to put these into a schedule so that we can visualize this a little bit better, as well as add the total square footage up so we know how much total square footage that we're actually working with inside of the building. To do that, we come underneath the View tab and create a schedule. And in this case, after selecting on the button for Schedules, we're going to Schedule in Quantities. We need to find Mass because this is going to be scheduling a mass object. And the mass object that we're going to be scheduling will be a mass floor. And this will be called a mass floor schedule. Click on OK to this. We need to put 2 pieces of information here in the scheduled fields. The first thing I'd like to see is level. This is going to tell us first floor, second floor, third floor. Next, I'd like to have the total floor area. If you want to have some of these other pieces of information, you can bring those over as well. But right now, the 2 things I want to key on will be level and floor area. Now I want to click on sorting and grouping. What I'd like to do is have it sort by the individual levels, which means it will put in order levels 1, 2, 3, and then 4. I'm going to put a check mark next to grand totals. That's going to give us the total square footage. I don't want to itemize every instance. If I did, that'd be okay, but what that would do is it would give us individual square footages for each mass. As it is, I want to make sure that everything that's on a specific level gives us the total square footage. So combining all 3 of these mass objects for the total square footage on that level. Underneath formatting, we need to highlight floor area and then put a check mark next to calculate totals. It tells Revit to actually do the math for the floor area. So to come back here to sorting and grouping, this is telling us to display the information related to the floor area. While here, calculate totals is saying to calculate what that information would be. So if we told it to display and we did not tell it to calculate, then it would show up as just being a blank field. But because we told it to calculate, it'll calculate the square footage, and then it will display it because it's told to display it underneath grand totals. From here, we're just going to click on OK. And now we can see each level, the total square footage associated with each level, and then the grand total of square footage associated with the entire building. Now, the really nice thing about this isn't just the fact that it's automated this process. Another thing that this can do is if we close this out and then select on one of these mass elements, what we can do is click right here and then pull this arrow out. Now we can see that this mass is stretching out in this direction, and we can see that the floor plate is adjusting as well. Now, the next thing I want to do is with this mass selected, come up here to related host, and I want to update the face. That moves those walls out. Next, I'm going to select back on the mass again, And we can see that the mass is coming all the way out here. And in fact, yes, this is going out to the face of the mass. We can see that the mass floors have updated as well. We'll look for the schedule over here underneath the project browser, mass floor schedule. We'll see that our grand total of square footage is now 18,035 square feet. So that we can see what adjusted, if we move up here and just select on undo, and we may need to click on that a couple of times, we can see that the level 1 square footage has changed from 6,410, if we hit redo, to 7,054. Level 2 square footage changed as well, 5,639 to 6,283. And we'll notice that the level 3 square footage didn't change at all. And the reason is that that space that we selected, the mass element, did not have a level 3 square footage or a level 3 floor plate associated with it. Now I'm going to click on the redo button until it's grayed out, so it will save those changes. So by creating a mass floor schedule, as well as selecting on the individual masses and telling them that they should have floors associated with them, we can then calculate what the total square footage of those floor areas would be and get immediate feedback on what the total square footage of our building design created in mass form could possibly be.